Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem. This is a postmortem of my game number 275. I was white here, kicked off with e4, and here we go. My opponent played e6, so I was expecting French defense. I played d4, the top choice there, and my opponent plays d6, a very rare move at this level. So here we have it. I looked this up later. This is called the Lengfellner system. So I put that in the title, but I couldn't actually find any information about this at all. The Wikipedia article just redirected. Well, if you look up Lengfellner on Wikipedia, it'll redirect you to the French defense, and then it doesn't discuss it at all. It doesn't discuss the move d6 in the article in the French defense. So, so I know nothing about this. It's one of those openings that I suppose the idea is to kind of provoke white into overextending and then take advantage of it, because your natural inclination is to say, oh, this is just a horrible mistake. But it's a playable opening, it appears. You could even transpose into a hippopotamus with the moves here, those pawn moves, the knight moves here, and the bishop moves here, if you haven't ever seen that setup. It's like a hippopotamus where the bishops are the eyes. And I guess these two pawns are the knights, maybe, or the nose. Anyway, that's not what we got into here. I played the move c4. Let's see. We look at what's in the opening database. Knight f3 makes sense. Bishop d3, I'm not sure that makes so much sense, but maybe. Yeah, I guess it's also defending the e-pawn. And f4, I wouldn't play f4 in this because you know, it opens up to these dark squared diagonals, which black has opened up first. So, but c4, there can't be anything really wrong with c4. You know, you get a chance to stick an extra pawn in the opening. So my opponent, oh, let's see, there was actually another move in the opening book here. Knight f6 was the last move in the opening book. Of course, there's only one game example there. But anyway, my opponent played back up. I meant to go here to this page. After c4, my opponent played h6. And so we're just out of the book and on our own, which is the other advantage of playing an offbeat opening like this. You force your opponent to think from the first move. But, you know, it's pretty easy to play a system like this where you've got lots of space. You do have to be careful not to overextend, though. So just make sure you hold on to your big pawn center. Defend those pawns. And see what happens. Develop your knights to normal squares. And he's wasting time. Oh, I played h3. I'm wasting time with this move, maybe. I was thinking, well, bishop might go to e3, and I don't want his knight to go to g4, but I'm not sure that was the most precise move there. Yeah, the engine already wants to push on with e5. I like to get everything set up before I push on. If you push on too soon, you can easily get into a situation where you're overextended. So king to h8, maybe another waste of time, hard to say. Castles, a6. That was the move I was thinking of. That was definitely a waste of time. And you'll see the engine is already giving white a decisive advantage due to just space and development, I suppose. So I played bishop f4 here. And he played b6. And now finally I play e5. And you see the engine has been crying out for e5 after a while. But I've got all my pieces on. I've castled, so my king is safe. And I have no fears about opening up the position in the center. Opening it up favors me. One thing you have to worry about is if you push at a time when your opponent can push his pawn, you know, he can perhaps lock the game up, and that's to his advantage. Having played a lot of pawn moves and neglected his development, he wants to keep the position closed. But e5 forces some lines open because it's simultaneously attacking the knight and the pawn. So his knight dropped back to g8, which appears to be part of the plan here, actually. This is why he played king h8, was to allow this square for the knight. And once again, he seems to have a very solid defensive setup. All the pawns around his king are pretty well protected, except maybe for the maybe the g7 pawn. It's got a certain weakness to it because only the king defends that. Anyway, right here, queen e2 is the... oh, well, I played bishop c2. Okay, that's a decent follow-up. I'm just rearranging these pieces so I can threaten checkmate on h7. A simple plan. And I was thinking, maybe I should open up a line here while I have the chance. But when you make these threats, that's also good. So he played bishop to b7, still keeping it closed. And now I play queen to d3, which is the engine choice. And now he plays g6 to block that. And now, somewhere along here, queen e3 is still a good move. So I was thinking, well, if I'm locked out of this target, I can go after this target. He plays king g7. And now a rook move here. Yeah, a rook move makes sense. Or d5, continuing to push on. I continued to leave the center somewhat static and maneuver with my pieces. So this move, knight h2, is not the most accurate move in this position. And, that's what happens in these games. My opponent has played, I suppose, badly, you might say. But at the same time, there's no killer tactic that breaks through. The engine is just recommending continuing development. Well, let's follow one of these lines. Maybe there is. Rook f to d1. Maybe there is a breakthrough here of some kind. Rook f to d1. Bishop takes f3. Or knight to d7. So he just continues developing. And pushing on with d5. Yeah, so maybe this is the way to break through. And now certainly some things are going to get exchanged. And if he doesn't take, I can take. And so some lines will open up here. So that's probably the better way to play. So I play knight h2, going for sort of maneuvering style. And you see my advantage is diminished greatly here. He goes knight d7, continuing to develop. And now knight to g4. The engine likes knight f3, just going back where it was. But knight g4. And then he plays h5. So this did kind of provoke a weakness. Yeah, I was thinking bishop g5 was a move during the game, and he could play this here, bishop g5. Okay, but h5 was played. And now the engine likes bishop h6 check. Why didn't I play that? I thought he would just take it. Bishop takes h6 check. I guess he can't take it because of queen takes. I was missing this idea. King g8 is forced, and now bishop takes g6. Okay, so that would have been a nice way to crash through right here with bishop to h6. And if he just walks away with the king, well, then at least I pick up the exchange. So that's a way to grab some material there. Okay, so I didn't calculate that out correctly. I didn't see the follow-up after knight takes. Obviously, you come in with the queen, and then bishop takes, and you're crashing through. Okay, interesting way to play. So knight h6 still keeps some edge, but not the best way to play. He moves his knight, and then I took on g8, just trying to get rid of defenders around the king, and then put my bishop in here. So all these moves are keeping some edge, and I was trying to figure out a way to sacrifice on g6, but because the way I've played it now, he's got his rook defending g6, so these sacrifices are less likely in this situation. But I continue to bring in more pieces, and queen f3 hitting the f-pawn, queen e8. So I think these are kind of logical up until here. Okay, so that king h2 move, as you saw, was a mistake. So I was just thinking of the move g4 here, and I was worried that things might open up with the rook opposite my king, so I was just getting my king out of that line. What does the engine say? The engine says bishop to f4, or e takes d6. Okay, so now is the time to open up some lines here, or to retreat the bishop first. I guess the bishop was no longer doing a whole lot over there. Bishop f4, king g7. And now bishop to b7. Something I didn't think about, or bishop c6. Yeah, looking at squares on the other side of the board, or bringing the rook into the game. So the engine thinks it's time to pull back and reposition, but it doesn't approve of this king h2 move. And I think after I played it, I realized, yeah, this pawn is just hanging now. He can take here, which he didn't. And then the knight gets to take, and it disorganizes my pieces. The queen has to move. I was thinking queen e2 here. The engine's saying maybe queen c3. I wanted to kind of keep the look on this diagonal. Yeah, so this is all of a sudden good for black. So you can see how how difficult it can be to crack these defensive setups. So a mistake like king h7 and king h2. A mistake like king h2 and all of a sudden black is doing just fine here. Okay, but he played king h7 and now I continue to have a slight edge. I do reposition my forces a bit and get the pawn onto get this g4 move in. But actually right here I had planned ahead of time to play the move queen takes h5 because this pawn is hanging right there. There's a pin here so that I can't take my queen, and also queen takes h5 defends my bishop. So it's funny, I had planned this out a few moves earlier. I said, well, if he plays king h7 I can play queen takes f5, and then he played king h7 and I didn't play that. I just retreated the bishop. So queen takes h5, yeah, and this would have been okay. King h8 and queen d1. Oh, maybe my queen just has to run away after he moves the king, so maybe it's not such a great move, but anyway, it was interesting that I didn't play it. I played bishop f4, which is also a good move, or keeps an advantage for me, I should say. And then I push on with g4, which once again is a mistake. I didn't see this idea. It says he can still play d takes. I was thinking to take back with the pawn, after which he can play g5. Supported by his bishop, and now he's forcing me back and gaining some space and some safety for his king. So yeah, once again, this precise play needs to you need to play precisely in these attacks. So g4 is a mistake, and I should push on. Let's see, bishop c6, rook f d1. Okay, so getting the rooks into position, repositioning the bishop on the light squares. A couple ideas are getting the rooks out, or king back to g1. Engine likes king back to g1. Okay, I was still intent on this king side attack idea. So g4, and he played rook h8. So not the best defense. And I guess once again I have some slight edge. Well, probably a winning edge even. I can pick up some pawns around his king and start making threats. But right here, yeah, so it's sort of a comedy of errors in a way. But, well, it's always hard to find the best moves when you're under pressure. But queen h8 is a way to continue. What is that? Queen h8. Oh, it's his turn. He played queen h8. What is my move? Queen, rook to g4. And what should I play? I should have played rook a to e1. So getting the other rook into the game. Also a very logical way to play. Maybe this rook would do some maneuver like this and double up. I was thinking it would be simpler to double up by lifting this rook and bringing the other rook over directly, but I guess I was neglecting once again the central tension. So after rook g4, if he takes, I'll take back with the pawn. Why not take with the bishop? Well, anyway, I would probably take with the pawn anyway. I just was curious why that wasn't a move. And knight takes e5. Oh, because it's protected by the rook. That's what I'm missing. And he's forking two pieces. So, So after d takes e5, should I just retreat? Bishop takes g6, huh? Just sacrificing on g6. How about just retreating the bishop? Just f5 forking these pieces. Okay, so I'm in a precarious situation here. I didn't realize. So this move, rook h4, was not really meeting the needs of the position. Rook g4 was not meeting the needs of the position. But he played rook h4 and allows my attack to continue. I go rook a g1 as intended. And he takes. So I took with the queen. And he plays rook to g8, bringing his other rook over. And now I sacrifice on g6. So that's not one of the top choices. Apparently there's a drawing line here. I thought this was pretty convincing. I mean, I get at least a pawn here. But he can't afford to take the bishop. He's got to retreat with his king. So the way for black to draw this is to move his king here. And then queen to f3. Let's see, do I have any other attacking ideas here I want to try out? Bishop takes. I guess the bishop is pinned. And taking here, yeah, I can't easily retreat the bishop. So I guess this was what I was missing. So after just retreating the king, he's got this pin working against my bishop, and I can't take anything with tempo. So queen f3, f takes g6, and then I get bishop g5 check. Oh, that's not it. Bishop g5 check, but that looks good. Why not bishop h6 check? But suddenly bishop h6 check is good for black because of this. And queen a8 check. And I guess he's getting out of it. So the engine is saying bishop g5 check is the way to draw it. King e8. And queen a8 check. King f7 and queen f3 check. Okay, so I can get a perpetual, and that's why that's a draw after bishop takes g6. But he played f takes g6, and now this is just lost. But there's some nice tactics here. You take here, and of course it's pretty easy to calculate because there's only one move, and then the bishop comes in, and now there's no moves for the king. So interposing may be the only legal move, and then you take here, and you're picking up the queen with this fork. So after a few more moves, my opponent resigned in this position. There's not an immediate mate. The engine finds a mate in 12 or 13, starting with queen g8 check. But no, the game would have continued for a while if black had put up the stiffest resistance. But really, I'm pretty much a whole queen up, and I have a passed pawn as well. So not much hope of of me blowing this game. So that's how it ended. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It really shows the importance of, when you're proceeding with your attack, to be mindful of your opponent's counterplay. So throughout the game, there were always these counter chances from black, typically starting with the move d takes e5, so taking advantage of the tension in the center and getting some counterplay. So he really could have defended that way. And it also shows the difficulty of attacking against these solid setups. So when you see someone playing that kind of setup against you, don't get overconfident. Just because they're playing in a quiet fashion doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to break down their defenses. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you again soon. Bye.